picture.
Is that right?
Yes.
6:30, we'll call this March 8th Commission meeting to order. At this point in time, we'll have the invocation by Pastor Terry Hall, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father God, tonight as we come into this room, I want to thank you that you've placed within us a gift of faith. Each of us have faith, place in that which we choose.
Yes.
And I thank you also for the knowledge and the understanding that faith always requires sacrifice. And tonight, as I consider sacrifice, I understand that whenever our faith is activated, someone, somewhere, somehow, must be the sacrifice that makes our faith effective. So tonight, O Lord, I ask that our community not be made the sacrifice on the altar of expediency. I thank you tonight, O Lord, that even though a totalitarian government would cause the freedoms of the people to be sacrificed, and on throughout all of the areas of life, we find that sacrifices are being made. And so I ask, O Lord, that we consider the sacrifices and consider the measure of our faith, that we might be a blessing to those around us rather than one forcing them through the fire. And Lord, I ask tonight that your wisdom, your knowledge, your insight, your grace should guide our faith, that faith should make reasonable sacrifice for the sake of your glory and our blessing and benefit. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Jenny.
Mayor Jamison,
Here.
Vice Mayor Jones,
Here.
Commissioner Kane,
Here.
Commissioner Blanket,
Here.
Commissioner Book,
Here.
Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make such a motion.
Second.
I have a first and a second to approve the agenda. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, it's approved. At this point in time, I need a motion for the approval of the minutes for February 22nd.
I move that we approve the minutes of February 28th.
Second.
I have a first and a second to approve the minutes from February 22nd. No
Did I say
comment.
28th?
I don't
It's
listen.
22nd.
I do listen.
That was a kiss.
You get me in trouble, man. Motion to approve the minutes has been given a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Hearing none. The approval of the minutes is done. At this point in time, we have a presentation, a certificate of appreciation to veteran James Gamerson. I'm going to let Ms. Linkus read it. I'll come down with, because I know she sort of spearheaded this. As mayor, I can deliver the certificate, I guess, in my official duties, but I would like for her to enjoy the moment since this is what she's put forth. So I would like for her to do it.
Tonight, we extend a certificate of appreciation to a High Springs resident, Mr. James Gamberton. Jim displayed his work ethic and his sense of honor and service at an early age when he became an Eagle Scout at age 13. He served our country for 7 years, 7 months, and 11 days during the Vietnam era in the U.S. Navy Air, rank E6, from January 1962 to September 1969. Jim served on over 400 missions as bombardier and navigator on 5 different aircraft carriers, the Forrestal, Constellation, Hancock, Enterprise, and Ranger. Jim also represented the U.S. military in the 1963 Pan Am Games in Sao Paulo, Brazil, as a swimmer. Jim and his family moved to High Springs in 1974, and he became active and involved in our community through his business, Jim Can Do, and also as a volunteer at the High Springs Fire Department and in the High Springs schools. He served as president of the PTA and president of the SAC committee at High Springs Elementary and Spring Hill Middle, as well as being a Take Stock in Children mentor for 4 students in our local schools. Even after losing his vision, Jim was often seen riding his bike back and forth from his home on 9th Street to the local community school to mentor and tutor local children. Jim is a disabled veteran and struggles with ongoing health issues at this time that sometimes land him in the VA hospital. Following his sense of service and commitment to his fellow man, Jim wanders the hospital and uses that time to visit with others hospitalized in the VA who have no one visiting them. Jim and his wife Brenda raised their daughter Jamie in High Springs, and now his grandchildren are being raised in his family home with the strong hometown values that define High Springs. Mr. Gamberton, we honor you and extend our appreciation for your service to our country and to the High Springs community.
Whoa.
But he told me it 74 because my daddy said it wouldn't because it was elected.
I didn't think you did, but I like it.
Yeah.
Welcome. We'll continue on. Continued business, number 1. And I'll go ahead and speak on this because I asked us to come back sooner than anticipated. At the last meeting, we had given the attorney directions to craft, change some wording on it, craft it, go out, research it, come back. Quite a bit of work. And when the meeting was over, it sort of dawned on me a little bit as I kept thinking about it, is before we should task the attorney with doing all this work, the basic question ought to be asked and answered: do we want to allow the consumption of alcohol at the Civic Center, since this is specifically the Civic Center? So I would, if we're not going to do that, if the vote's 3-2, 4-1, or whatever, well, there's absolutely no reason for the attorney to spend the time and effort to craft an ordinance that is no good. So at this point in time, comments, so forth, and see if we can give some direction. If we're for it, then obviously the direction go forward. If there's a commission we say no, well, then we just save the attorney a lot of time and effort to be able to work on something else. So I'll open it up for comments.
I've been thinking about this a lot since our last meeting, and I asked Jenny to send me information on what we were charging and the amount of occupancy there. So currently we charge $150 for this facility with a damage deposit of $100. Technically, we can put 200 people in that building. I would be hard pressed to put 200 people in that building. My concern is it is a civic center, and we have a playground there, and we have basketball courts there, and we have tennis courts there, and we have soccer fields there. And all hours of the day and night, I see people over there using that facility. There's always kids over there playing, always. And I just feel like there would be a conflict in us having, even if it was once a month, that's 12 times a year. So then do we say, well, you can't use the playground then, and where are these people going to park, these 200 people? Because there is not parking over there for that. Even if you had 2 to a car, that's 100 cars. There is not adequate parking in that area for 100 cars. I just don't think that that particular building in that particular location should even be considered as a venue for events that had alcohol, just because of the nature of how we use that facility.
Anybody else?
I'm not in favor of it either, partially because of what she said, the location of it. Plus, it's used a lot all day, each day, by the children that's coming and going. And I don't think the two things are very compatible. So for that, I'm not in favor of it at all.
Okay. Anybody else?
Well, I had never thought about it from that point. That is something to think about. That is a park there. I know we don't allow alcohol in the other parks here in the city. You know, and one of my biggest problems with the liability is part of it, but the alcohol.
And I agree with, I'm sorry, what you said?
Yes.
Okay. After thinking it over, I too thought about it a lot since the last meeting, and perhaps it might not be the ideal place to have alcohol consumption. And we have to regulate what kind we want to have, whether it's just beer and wine or hard liquor. It's just, and there are children over there all the time, including my grandchildren, so.
I got you. Well, I think it'll probably be unanimous on the deal. I mean, my first thing, there was 2 angles, is you looked at the kids and the alcohol, and I'm going to say alcohol meaning beer, wine, and the whole bit, is obviously it has to be inside, but I think that people are going to stay inside and not wander outside where you would have something, you have to enforce it. So I think that's an iffy thing. Then I look at the financial aspect of it and I say, what's the cost benefit? What do we get over the course of time? Mr. Booth, how many requests basically? I know we over the last
a few
5 years.
dozen, but the cost benefit isn't there.
So I look at it, is this a major revenue stream that would be beneficial to the city if we could do it? It ain't gonna be a revenue stream. And so, I mean, I would agree, and it's not, and those are the things that when I went back, so I would gather that it would be basically at this point in time, we don't want to do it. I'm hearing it from the deal. We don't want to do it. Keep it as it is and move on.
Move on.
I just saved you how many hours of work?
100.
We saved you.
You saved me 100 hours.
We saved you. It wasn't anything. So, no, and I appreciate greatly that everybody thought about this and they got it, because if you were like me, when I left the meeting that night, a lot more things sort of went through the brain. So I greatly appreciate it. I also appreciate the comments from the deal. So any comments? I mean, at this point in time, it will be tabled. The ordinance, we will not go forward with the ordinance. Is there anything we need to do?
Nope. So the ordinance that was before you, the underlined parts were what was going to be new, and so since we're not adopting the ordinance, that section will remain the same, which is that there is no alcohol allowed at any public school property or any city-owned or operated recreation.
So we don't need to do anything.
So you don't
We
need to
have
do
we don't have
anything,
to
you're keeping
cancel
the
this
status
and-
quo.
Okay,
Correct.
so we're gonna remain status quo. Do we need a motion of that, or is it just consensus? We can do that since there's actually no ordinance out there, just
Right, because there's
consensus?
nothing to do. So
There's
if you do
to on
nothing,
it.
we keep the status quo.
Okay, so the consensus, we're not going there.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you know, when you told me about your dad, I wasn't gonna go against you.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
You said it'll hold 200?
150.
Yeah, I finna say
This
150.
paperwork says 200, that,
Small people.
Yeah, we need to change that, Jenny, because it's hard to get 150 in there. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
We'll bring that back.
okay.
Okay.
We did take the stage out, so that
You can
opened up a lot of
put, you
area.
can put 50 people in this area. Okay.
It's not that, I mean, all you gotta, fire, it's basically a square footage, so
Yeah.
it's not what we put it at. I mean, the
Fire
fire.
marshal.
The whole contract is going to be updated.
Right,
Okay.
but the fire marshal will do that part,
Yeah,
right,
yeah, the fire marshal will rate it.
right, okay,
Okay.
Item number 2 is consider approval of the Muni Code update. I know we asked to see what could be done, some things, and this is telling us. So Jenny, do you want to speak on that, please?
At the last meeting, the commission was presented with two options to update Muni Code. One was strictly for the ordinances, and which was a little over $4,000, and one was for the ordinances and the comp plan. That was over $8,000. So we wanted to check with Muni Code and see if there was a way not to include the comp plan, but just to simply update the ordinances, but to notify anybody that looks on Muni Code that they could check with the city for the updated comp plan. So they advised that yes, they could, and they could remove the old comp plan that's currently on there, and so it'd strictly be just the ordinances. So we could do it for the $4,216. And they would not charge us to remove the old comp plan.
I feel better about that with the deal, plus removing the one, so if somebody wants to find it, they're not going to get a conflicting message. They're going to come here and they'll come and they'll speak
Right, the
up.
notice
So-
will
so
tell them to contact us.
That's good news, thank you. Any comments?
That was within, we had a $5,000 budget for
Yes.
this line item, so the 4,400, or 4,216 still,
Yes,
that's
it's
great.
within-
I think that's much better than going above what we really need to do at this point.
Once they call here, they know they're getting the latest
Right.
updated information, and
Yes,
that's the
they
best
will.
way to do it. I think so.
Mr. Booth, you want to speak at all as far as plans towards the comprehensive at this point?
Oh, well,
Just,
as we speak,
not final stuff, but just,
yeah, as we speak, we're working on that. We have Bill and I have a meeting with the regional planning group, and we're going to go over, they're going to find us a good comp plan. What we have is a pretty good land development code that doesn't meet the comp plan. And so we're going to make them meet, we'll find somebody that's good, and we'll rewrite it to meet the land development code. And then we can go on.
And Mr. Booth has identified a grant that I think is due
Yeah.
in June. So
Mhm.
he's going to apply
Yeah.
for that, and that would defray,
Sure.
if you got the grant, that would defray
Mhm.
some of the costs. But they're encouraging smaller municipalities to go out for that because they understand that it's hard to budget for something,
Sure.
a project like that.
the new employee,
Yes. She'll be here the 9th of April.
the only reason I bring that up, because if you look at her resume, it is extensive, comprehensive planning and so forth. So I think we're hitting the jackpot in that regard, to have somebody on staff who can review it and take care of it. So that was one of the things to come out. So we're, I hope I'm saying, very excited about that, because we have somebody on staff, I mean, extensive experience along those lines. So we don't need to do anything on this, right, Jenny? Because we approved the 4,000, so we don't need to do anything on this. And that will take place timeline immediately once we do it? Perfect. That'll be excellent. Very good. Next item, new business, we're going to have a little review and update on the sewer capacity.
Right. I would have normally taken care of it during my speak, but this has been a very important item on for the council.
Yeah, Ed, let me hold on a second, because I messed up. I jumped the gun.
You're trying to get out of here too fast.
No, I'm not trying to get out of here. I
Yeah.
just went from the one I saw the new
Citizens
business. So
request.
I sincerely apologize. Citizen requesting comments, and I sincerely apologize. Any issues not on the agenda would be your time to speak at this moment. Please come up, give your name, and limit your comment to 5 minutes. And once again, I sincerely apologize. Anybody in the audience? Okay, Mr. Booth.
All right, capacity has always been a very important thing for this council. And there's been some misconceptions. When I got here 5 years ago, the engineers had convinced the council there was no capacity. That wasn't true. And you were at 55% at that time. Now we're at 72%. At 80%, we have to start designing a sewer plant. And so the engineers feel that that'll happen in about 2020. I feel it'll happen next year. And so what we have done is made an appointment on the 13th for Midtower and myself to talk to Swanee River. We want to take our projects, even though the wetlands were really on the top priority for DEP, we would like to convince them to do the sewer expansion next after the A1 project, and then do the wetlands. It's important for us as a city to have that expansion at least to last for 15 years. And so it's important for growth. It's important for a lot of businesses coming in. And so I think we're going to be able to be successful in changing the project. And these are all multi-million dollars. The sewer expansion is probably $4 million, $3 million from Swanee River, $1 million from our impact fees. And then once we get that done, we can change the impact fees and put them into water, because we have a lot of infrastructure problems, and water then will be next. So I'm real confident.
When are you meeting with them? You said that you were going to meet
13th
of March.
of here, yeah.
Okay, like next week, okay. Because this report says that basically we should have these expanded facilities placed into operation 2021, and that's closer than we think. I mean,
Yeah, I think so.
it's like that's
See, we can
kind of
go actually to 100%,
right,
but we have to have the engineering for an expansion.
right.
And so we really don't want to go that high. We'd like to go right into the 80s and then have the expansion and then go on with it.
The department, DEP won't let you keep getting to that 100 unless you have these plans in
Right.
place.
That's
like
absolutely
So
Mr.
you're
is
moving
proposing.
in the direction of having extensive capacity, okay?
Any other comments?
You say we got 72% now?
72. Yeah, we've gone from 55 to
Yeah, that's-
72. Well, that's a normal progression, but it's going to get steeper and steeper.
Yeah.
Well, you've been working, through Mr. Booth to make sure that you were connecting households that hadn't previously been connected. So some of these people would have been on earlier, and that's kind of helped inflate some of your numbers, which is a good thing.
I would very much, and I say this simply because this has sort of been the item that I've been on since I got on here. I would very much like to see us try to direct the grant and put the capacity above. I would personally like that. I want to make sure we don't fall into the same thing like 7 or 8 when things really go And then
I
all of a
know.
sudden, we're sitting there and we're having to tell developers, I'm sorry, I can only do
Yeah.
50.
Yeah.
I'd like for us to get ahead of the game. And so anything we can do to sort of shift that to make the capacity, because the ponds we don't have now anyways, we've got the spray field. So that isn't a necessity, it's a life. The capacity thing, we know we're gonna need. And so I would like, and I agree, that we really push towards that. Put the city in a position that we're not having to worry about it when the future growth hits within the next year and a half, I think 2 years when it's coming, we're okay.
Yeah.
And so I applaud you on that, and I appreciate you looking forward.
Yeah, we're actually looking for the growth to happen this summer.
I don't disagree with you. I talked with Tim, Norman, and so forth, and, we have talked. This is why,
Yeah,
this is why not now, not waiting to
Yeah.
2021, but do it now. So, agreed. Any other comments?
You know what the capacity will become?
Yes, it will be 1.5 times what it is now. Right now, it's 250,000 gallons. It will be 750,000 gallons capacity. That will take you at least to 15 years.
It'll set up, Terry, I actually talked with them on the deal, this is something to do it, and it'll put us far enough out to at least, I think, relieve a little bit of, anxiety type of deal, of being able to support.
When you're using the percentage numbers, you're going from 72 or 80% down to 30%?
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah, it'll drop dramatically as we build. You good? I'm gonna try to beat it here. I got like 3 minutes, man, and we can beat a record here. And if you talk more than 2 minutes, you're talking.
I don't have one item.
Courtney?
No, I really don't have an update. I think I told you before that we thought by now we would have the responses for our motions for summary judgment in our 2 pending litigations. The opposing counsel asked for an extension of time. The court granted that, so we expect those responses next week. And then once those are in, the judge will be able to make a determination on those motions. And once I have that, I will keep you all updated. But if not, then we are slated this summer for trial in both of those cases.
Right.
And that's it.
Ed?
Okay, the city will start receiving in the next 4 to 5 years 125,000 more in gas tax. That's the good side. The other side is it comes out of the other small cities. And that's why it's being implemented slowly. And we weren't really a part of it because of the controversy and feelings. We just let the county commission do what the county commission.
When is that going to start?
Starts in 2 years.
Okay.
And then implemented probably in about total, because we're talking about a fair amount of money coming out of the smaller cities.
We're happy to send you all the first amendment to the interlocal between the county and the city of Gainesville. But your distribution is unchanged for this year, 2019 and 2020. And after that, it changes marginally each year until 2024, I believe, is the final increase. And then you maintain that distribution until 2028. Which would be the final year of this tax.
It's a 6-year transition period, and at the end of the 6 years is when it actually takes place. So
And so that was to lessen the burden on the other municipalities who are seeing a decrease. So you, the city of Alachua, and the city of Newberry are all seeing an increase, and Hawthorne, Micanopy, La Crosse, and Archer will all be going down as you're going
Yeah.
up.
Okay.
And the county did this based on a combination of road miles in the city and population.
Mhm.
But the statute says that every 2 years, the distribution formula should be reviewed. That hasn't happened previously, but the county says they're committed to doing that. So if something substantial has changed in that 2-year period, it might be something that they would look at again.
Minor impact for us. Really doesn't matter a whole lot one way.
I think it was like $20,000, a little over $20,000 within the grand scheme per year. Obviously, we can use it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a deal breaker
Yeah.
either way. That it?
But
Nancy?
I don't have anything, believe it or not.
Time out.
Gloria.
She got scared about the 2 minutes there.
No, I'm gonna let you have your time.
Well, I'm gonna have to do something.
I'm not going to do it to you. I'm not going to let you have it.
Go, man. What do you got?
And truly, about growth, it's coming to High Springs. I can feel it. It's coming because of all the positive stuff I'm hearing about High Springs right now. It's just people from all over want to know about High Springs, and it's due to the wonderful women, librarian out there, the school system out there. Because of the school, the crime rate,
Absolutely.
good community, playgrounds. It's coming. I can see it. I really can see it. It's coming very, very soon. Real soon. Yeah. So I think we need to, and I'm always been a person, I believe in smart growth.
Oh,
yeah.
Don't let it sneak in on us. We need to be planning before we get here.
Yeah.
Because we got to control that. Stopping it, I don't see no way of stopping, but we can
Yeah.
be smart about it. So that's when we really start looking at that growth coming here in High Springs. It's coming. It's a good thing. And it's good to hear people call in and saying wonderful things about the city of High Springs. Wonderful thing. Also, Mr. Booth, a young man, Daniel from Duke Energy, when you did the replace all the lights,
Yes.
he wanted to do an article.
Oh, absolutely.
And last way today, letting people know the savings that we have and
You bet.
about it. So he asked you, would you give him a call and he can
I
get the
certainly
details
will.
and
Yep.
he'll write it up and send it to the.
You know, they did that very quietly, did all the lights. We've saved a lot of energy with the street lights and everything, and so you bet.
Yeah.
They are great
Yeah.
in our neighborhood. It really lit it up.
Yeah. And he also said that say someone have a private light at their home, they can call customer service
Okay.
and get the same lights that we have throughout the city.
I'll remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody would like to have one,
We'll put that on our website.
okay.
All right.
Yeah. But you got to call customer service. You know.
That's good to know.
You done, buddy?
That's it.
That's it.
Let it.
Nothing at this time, thank
You
you.
blew it, buddy.
Oh, I got one more thing.
Now, we come back once again just to reiterate when Mr. Williams was talking about the growth, the smart growth and so forth. Once again, I'm going to say the individual we have coming on board the 1st of April, that's what she does. And so I think we'll really put ourselves in a position. She's got infinite CRA experience, what she's going to do, but also her resume is like a novel as far as comprehensive plan and so forth. So I believe the timing is perfect. We got somebody coming on to help steer us through as we start to grow and get bigger. So I'm very positive and I'm very happy about that and looking forward to her getting on board. What about it?
But we need to give Jennifer and Jenny the credit.
Absolutely.
What do you want me to do about this?
I don't know. Jenny, you put this in?
What, Jennifer? And Mr. Booth.
Oh, he doesn't
Yes.
count.
I'm right.
Well, we'll talk, I mean, we just need to let you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, that's it. Things are good. We got a lot of work to do. We never get complacent. We got to stay on top. We've got your interest to make sure we're taken care of. Appreciate you all being here because it does make a difference
Yes.
when we see people. And we greatly appreciate it. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We're out of here.
We have to announce Courtney and I are going to Prague. No? Okay.
You can come.
I can come.